Good evening. Welcome to Bottomline Live on Metro TV. This is the holiday edition where we say business at the speed of thought. My name is Winston Taki. I'm sitting for a regular host, Chairman Chrissy Friye. Tonight, we will be touching on labor agitation, the unrest that is now happening in the labor front. The demand and the voice and the word, popularly known in most of the media stream, is CoLA. What is CoLA? Cost of living allowance is what is being demanded by the labor unions. But we'll be delving deep into it and to see how many more strike workers are demanding for, what is the percentage, and also what really goes into the CoLA, whether it's indeed the right frame to demand or whether indeed by law what the labor unions are demanding for, whether it's legally right in that way. We'll be delving deep into that, but we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll delve into the conversation. But before then, also, just know that our WhatsApp line is also active. You can send your messages via the WhatsApp line on your screen. We'll definitely be opening the phone lines for you to also contribute to the discussion ongoing here tonight. My name is Winston. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Bottomline Live on Metro TV. My name is Winston Taki. Tonight, we are also streaming live on our Facebook page and also on our Twitter handles at metrotvgh.com. Tonight, we are discussing the case of worker unrest and also the demand for the labor unions in regards to their cost of living allowance. We'll be also opening the phone lines, and also you can also send your messages via the WhatsApp line that will be streaming on your screen as well. Let me make certain facts straight here. According to data, Ghana has been ranked as 120th out of 197 countries by cost of living in terms of ranking. Also, Accra is the 63rd country with the highest cost of living. These are facts on the ground here. That being said, I would like to introduce my guest tonight, who is in the person of Johnny Donu Sampa, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Service Workers Union, TUC Ghana. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Bottomline.
Good evening, my brother.
Great. It appears for over 2 months now, 3 months, if I may say, the labor front has been a bit tense up to now. First of all, let me understand, what does the TUC, or let's say public service workers, consist of? What do you make of?
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening to our cherished listeners. The Public Services Workers Union of TUC Ghana is made up of 65 public sector organizations. For example, Electoral Commission, NCC, TVET Services. We are talking about Atomic Energy and all those organizations. So there are 65 serious public sector organizations. We are made up of 27,000 members in all. So that is actually the body that we are talking about.
And what connects the other bodies to the main body, TUC?
Okay, so we are a member of the TUC, or we are affiliate of the TUC. So we are national union on our own, but of course, we have some national unions that submit to TUC or came together to form the TUC as the confederation, but we have other labor unions too that are not necessarily under TUC, but they are also national unions on their own. For example, teachers, Ghana Medical Association, and others.
So the leadership is basically bound by laws or structures within the TUC. Is that the case?
Okay, it is bound by, it has its own constitution, it has its own legal personality, and it is registered as a national union. And a national union also have its constitution and its structures. And when its structures take decision, it implement. But it also belongs to the TUC. And of course, there are decisions that are taken also at the TUC. The national unions also, their structures and constitution, also have capacity to take their own independent decisions.
Okay, now let's move to the main discussion that has to do with the cost of living. How did we get here? And also, for how long has this deliberation been going on with government behind the scenes when it comes to your demand for the standard of living for workers?
Okay, so it all started somewhere last year when we negotiated in 1 year, 2 year salaries at a go, which did not go down very well for our members. Also, but because of COVID and the situations in the country at that time, it was a considered view of government and also leadership of organized labor to accept that kind of arrangement. Now, you remember that last year we got 4%, and then we got 7% for this year. Now, when we agreed to this, it was quite tough, also because even at that time, already inflation was above 15%, and our members thought that that was not sufficient. But because of the crisis of COVID and the fact that we were all trying to tighten our belt to move out of the situation to now growth in the economy, it was accepted. Now, while those discussions were ongoing, obviously we don't just negotiate in vacuum, but when you negotiate, you have responsibility. For example, workers promise to be productive, and then the managers of the economy also promises to manage the economy such a way that inflation doesn't really go up too much to make useless the little gain that the workers have gotten. So from all this background, when now things started turning up, that inflation was going up, everything we used to buy was almost doubling here and there, then of course it became quite problematic. It also came up that during that same time, other conditions of the executive or Article 71 office holders actually came up. And people came with all manner of salary increases that those people receive. Some people say 74%, 54%. The difficulty is that sometimes you don't get official position coming to authoritatively speak on it from the government side, saying that this is exactly what has happened and this is how come it came about. So a lot of information on in the public space. From where I sit, I know that it was accumulated period of increase that actually occurred. But the fact that it occurred at a time where we were all in economic crisis, also we were in a global crisis, and we thought that everybody needed to sacrifice. Then the people who already were receiving better conditions, when theirs were usually improved, then people were not happy with it. So right after that, there were a lot of agitations. There were even coalitions from the labor movement and other civil society organizations purporting to speak sometimes for workers and making the TUC look like, or the organized labor look like, we don't even care for our members. And now we started talking about, well, if there is money and you did not disclose fully to us, then obviously let us think about what
kind of report comes to you from your union, basically? Because like you made mention, you consist of several unions like teachers and most of the unions within your structure. Because I'm sure most of them come with different demands regards to their condition of service. How different are their demands?
Okay, so when I say that report, I'm not talking about report to the TUC, because for the other organized labor groups that do not belong to the TUC, they don't give any report to.
But how about those who belong to the TUC?
Those that belong to us, we have structures. So we have our NEC that meet every year, which is our National Executive Council. We have our management committee. Then each of the organizations, like divisions, we call them divisions. So like Food and Drugs Authority is a division of the Public Services Workers, NCC is a division. So these national unions, which we call local union or divisional union, they have different demands which we negotiate at the enterprise level or some at the fair wages level. But these kind of demands that we are talking about, or the agitation that started, was about the fact that the 4% and the 7% was insufficient to keep us. And the fact that inflation was rising, everything in the country was increasing, there was the need for renegotiation. So the first demand was the fact that we should go and renegotiate. And that when we realized that that was not possible, then we started talking about, okay, then the president should use his executive powers to then give some CoLA, cost of living. And this is not the first time that cost of living is being asked. Cost of living is something that is known. And so whilst things were becoming very difficult, the workers were not able to manage any longer, then there was the need to make that request. So there was that informal discussion, and it actually came up. We came up publicly during the May Day, and the May Day in front of the president. Then the TUC make that special appeal that the president should use his executive powers.
There is that school of thought that holds that the labor union seems to be biting much of a bigger chunk of the national cake in terms of demands, because they happen to be at a strategic position to make demands. That is, if government refuses to meet their demands, they also decide to lay down their tools. Is that not bullying from your angle?
Not at all. Now, for example, the public services workers, I can speak for ourselves. When was the time in this country that you heard that the Public Services Workers Union, the entire 65 public sector organizations, have decided to take industrial action? It hardly happened. For the past 6 years, or let's say, yes, it's almost 6 years, the TUC in this country has not declared any strike action.
So members under your organization do declare?
Oh, if members of the organization will, it is just a pocket of few. Either their chief executive is not doing well, either they think that there's mismanagement in the organization, and then they agitate a little bit, and that one we solve it at the enterprise level. But for the organization to declare nationwide strike action, it doesn't happen. Or it doesn't happen that often, even the way our members. So we don't abuse it. It becomes a tool that when you are pushed to the wall, that you have nothing to, you have nothing else to do, then you have no option than to use it.
Because you made mention of the fact that you made mention of inflation as one of the reasons why you're making demand of this. And we know the public sectors consist of basically about 3% or let's say 10% of the general population of this country. And let's say the structure of government in terms of service provision. And there is also some school of thought that holds that there is a lot of inefficiency or lack of productivity from the public sector. Generally, that is the conversation. Why do you think that is true from your angle?
I don't think it is true at all. These are very wrong perceptions, and sometimes politicians, successive politicians or government has actually indirectly created that impression. But it is not true. For example, will you say that the teachers are inefficient? The point is that when you go to the classroom, go to preparatory school, and you see just about 15 to 30 people or 20 people being taught. And you go to another public school, and you see about 55 people, and the same teacher is teaching all these people. How will you measure that? When you go to our hospital, and you see our nurses actually working their heart out. When you go to our public institution, where even people are improvising because the tools are not there, the necessary environment has not been created. The resources that are required for the work is not there. But people go the extra mile to do this work. How will you say that people? But it is a perception that because we have not talked much about it, people believe that it is true. We have many public sector institutions that the truth is that they are working their heart out.
So you still believe, but not all of them basically, is that way?
Obviously, they say that if you be a men's home, so it is possible that in every big house, you may have someone that attitude
so there's a
is
bit
a
of truth to that.
So, but what percentage of that? The kind of perception that I've heard outside, which I believe you are trying to talk about, is as if the public sector is completely inefficient. And I'm saying that many public service institutions, go to our FDA and go and see. We work there like the way you work here. And the point is that we can compete very well with any private sector institution. Go to the rest of our institutions. I cannot mention all the 65 institutions, but what I am trying to say is that I strongly believe that it is a wrong perception that we need to take time to interrogate them and not generalize.
Instead of generalizing, just as you did made mention, how do we possibly, like you said your demands are legitimate by your action, and also tomorrow is the deadline that you've given. So what will you do tomorrow should you not hear a formidable response from government?
Okay, so tomorrow is not the deadline that we have given. On the contrary, we met last Friday. Our structures, all the 65 public sector institutions, our management committee from all over the country, we met. And the decision was that if you want to declare strike action, there are requirements by law to be met. You need to give 7 days notice. So when we met Friday, knowing that today is a holiday, it was the decision that tomorrow 12 should be the notice, like the beginning of the 7-day notice. So it is on the 19th that if we have not reached consensus, then of course the Public Services Workers Union is calling for industrial action.
Okay. The conversation is still ongoing here on Metro TV, where we are discussing the worker agitation in the labor front. You can still call into tonight, especially, we are opening the phone lines. It's a holiday special edition. You can call into the phone and make your statement, or let's say make your voice known, heard on the live show. You can also send your message via the same WhatsApp line on your screen. We'll ensure that we'll read it live on the show. Make sure that you make mention of your name and where you are calling from. And I will still admonish that you watch the language with which you make your statement. No insult, no demeaning, and no attacking of personalities. Just go straight to the point and make your case heard without objectivizing any personality here on the show. Let me read some few messages before we commence with we go on with the conversation. This is workers. This is from Ebenezer Echampon in Koforidua. He says, workers need a CoLA badly due to the current economic conditions. Prices of goods and services keep skyrocketing and has affected the purchasing power of workers. Great submission by the DGs and PSU brother John Sampa. The PSU leadership is doing very well in drumming the woes of workers for government workers. Okay, let me read one more. One says, I think Ghanaian workers are not serious and have a divided front. Government officials and party officials are living like kings, but when it comes to the ordinary man, then the meat is left to the bones. It's surprising that a president who moves about in an expensive jet is asking others to sacrifice. Let me take one before we come here. This is from Akufo Ado. Okay, this is from Raymond from Lashibi. Good evening, Brother Taki. Ghana seeking an assistance from IMF is a complete error. So Akufo Ado realized the financial status of the country and used that huge sums of taxpayers' money to hire the jet. Has he no excuse of not paying the workers as well as NAPCO personnel? They also deserve better, like he enjoys. So keep bringing in the messages, and I'll be reading them live here on the show. So, okay. We have Emmanuel, who happens to be our first caller. Emmanuel from Ho. Good evening. Welcome to Bottomline.
Yeah, good evening, my brother, and good evening to your cherished listeners. First, congratulations to my deputy secretary, deputy secretary for Public Service Union, but Sampa.
Okay.
Emmanuel is congratulating you for well articulating the word. We have taken decision together. Why are we supporting the cost? We are supporting the cost because the 7% that was given to us this year cannot wash. We, the workers, need to be cushioned. And we support him, and all the 65 of us, we are supporting him, and we are saying that if government doesn't listen to him, as he is saying, we are going to lay down our tools by the 19th, which we declared on last Friday.
Okay.
We are reaffirming this, and he is not there on his own capacity alone. We are all supporting him. So don't look at him as if he is just articulating it. We fully support him, and all of us are going to show solidarity. That is our word.
Okay.
Solidarity.
All
so
right.
Government must listen to us. When we lay down our tools, the whole Ghana will come onto his knees.
Point well made, Emmanuel. Point well made, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can also be called into the phone lines, and we'll open it up for you to make your submission. Like I said earlier, be circumspect in your submission. Mr. John, it appears the support is coming through for you, but the real case has to do with whether the demand with regards to CoLA is what the direction we should be going now. Already, you've made your point well known with that regard, but government also has said, we don't have money. How do we deal with that?
Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Nitaki, for your question. And I thank all the people that are making the comment. We can make the money. The truth is that when we get to a stage like this, what we need is honest and sincere conversation.
Like which type of conversation?
Okay.
What kind?
So the point is that in this country, there are a lot of things that are wrong. But the truth is that as labor unions, we try to do what we specialize is to do. And we leave other space for other civil society organizations and other groups to talk about. But if it is true that this country is in economic crisis, that we should go to IMF or we should find a better way of doing things. There are a number of things aside pay cuts. Pay cut of what? Pay cut of 40,000 and you cut 30%. What will be left? The other allowances that are attached to it is more than the entire teacher that have worked for 37 years. It's more than the doctor surgeon that have worked for over 27 years. So the point is that the pay cut is good, but there are other real issues that we also have to look at it. We have to look at the loopholes in the system.
Okay, this comparison is something very interesting. I'll come back to you. I think we have Kofi from Kaswa who just joined the phone line. Good evening, Kofi. You're live on Bottomline. Kindly make a submission, sir. Can you hear me, Kofi? Okay, unfortunately, we just lost Kofi. You can still call the phone line on your screen and we'll open it up for you to make your submission. Okay, Mr. Sampa, you were making a point there. Back to you.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that if indeed we have gotten to a point where we think that the nation is really in crisis economically, then I think that we may need very sincere national consensus or stakeholder dialogue. And this is not just a meeting trying to deceive workers and always make it look like it is only workers that take the chunk of the taxes. But the point is that who are the people that create the taxes? It is the same workers. In this country, we have not found better way to expand the tax net, and it is few former sector workers, you and I, that pay these taxes. And it is these same government workers that also collect all these taxes or contribute to it. We also contribute huge percentage of taxes that we collect in this country. Our point is that if things are difficult, maybe the heritage that the colonial master left for us, the gargantuan ex gracias, the huge salaries of chief executives, the 2 or 3 or 4 deputies that sometimes are very unnecessary. Also because if you go through the history, you realize that almost every successive government, because they must create a job for other people, they create deputies. Now you have a minister, you have like 3 deputies to the minister, you go to the chief, you go to the ministry, you have
John
like...
Sampa, just a minute, I'll get back to you shortly.
Okay.
I think we have John Sampa on the phone. John on the phone line now. John Begra, good evening. Welcome to Bottomline.
Good evening.
Yeah. Kindly make a submission, sir.
Yeah. My submission is that the salary structure of the country is unfair. When they talk of salary, they just said public sector is over-bloated. The salary wage bill is over-bloated. But they have not been proper segregation. Looking at the wage bill, they have added Article 71 word together, who are the people who hold chunks of our revenue. And looking at the other sector workers, even someone allowance alone is far, far better than what he has taken home as a net. So looking at the salary structure, so the government have to do something about it. They have to abolish this Article 71, 2, abolish the ex gratia, 3, their cars and what, they should also pay them the monthly salary. They will use it to buy the vehicle like what other public sector workers use the monthly salary to buy their vehicle. build their own houses, fend for themselves in terms of food, shelter, and everything. It's unfair.
Okay.
You see someone who even look at the university lecturers. Someone will lecture someone just because of politics. The person is an MP taking over 20,000. University lecturer PhD is taking 5,000. It is unfair. And then looking at the work output themselves, some people currently, some are not always at the floor of parliament. Some are roomy, but still they are enjoying allowances. They are taking a lot of fat money. They will still take as gratia.
Point
So
one
if
made
we are
there.
able to break down all these things, definitely every sector or every corner of the country, development will get to that particular place, and people's lives will be better than how we are suffering.
Great.
It's a political
Great.
end. They are milking
Great.
all the resources.
Great.
And
Point
then
well
once
made there, sir.
we are-
Great. So kindly be brief and go straight to the point when you get opportunity to make a submission as well. I'll be reading your messages that are coming through the WhatsApp line. An interesting submission there. We should cut down the ex gratia and all those stuff. But there was another conversation I had with one economist who proposed that literally we should cut down a whole public sector number of employees, because it appears, since if you look at our budget, a huge amount of money seems to be spent on the public sector wages and salaries, including arrears.
Well, thank you very much. I disagree with that. The point is that in the sector I operate, the 65 institutions that are part of the PSW, many of these places, even they have short employees, they have sent for financial clearance at Ministry of Finance, even to recruit more, and they have not even been given. People go on retirement, people die, people resign, and the replacement, you need clearance, financial clearance from Ministry of Finance before, and sometimes it's not coming. So sometimes when we generalize it and say that the public sector, unless we say that a particular public service job, we want to completely stop it. For example, we no longer want to have Food and Drugs Authority, or we no longer want to have, let's say, a gun education service. Then, of course, you are talking about something. But when you go to the classrooms, we have shortage of teachers. When you go to the hospitals, we have shortage of doctors and nurses. So when we generalize these things and say that the whole public sector is overbloated, these are statements we make just to succeed in our attempt to pay the people less.
Okay.
Somebody who is a graduate who is working and has worked for about 10 years, who take less than 2,000 Ghana cedis, what else do you want to do to the person?
That's an interesting question.
What else do you want to do there? So it's amazing how sometimes we create that kind of impression.
Okay.
But we have not had time to go deep into those salaries or conditions or even the numbers that we are saying that they are overbloated.
Okay. I think we have Akwesi from Tema who has joined us on the phone line. Good evening, Akwesi. Welcome to Bottomline.
Good evening.
Please, can you make your submission?
Good evening.
Yeah, kindly make a submission. You can speak now. You are live on Metro TV. Okay. Unfortunately, we've lost him there. I think this issue about the need for public sector wages to capture the whole structure from that angle is a very dicey one. How about the informal sector in that aspect? Are their needs also taken into consideration? Because it looks like you are fighting for your condition. Do you look at the general picture?
Okay, so we have different institutions to look at different things. The Public Services Workers Union, we can only speak for our members. But I know that the TUC that I belong to, even when they make the demand for the 20% CoLA, we also considered even informal workers or private sector workers that also receive less than exactly the minimum wage, or even less than the minimum. What we are saying is that those people should also be cushioned. If the government is able to cushion these people as well, it is better. But what we are saying is that when you have issue, you go to your employer. And I particularly think that even private sector institutions that also negotiate, have unions, or they have associations, or they have a group that negotiate for them, or even where the employer unilaterally even decide conditions of service. When you are in a country where everything has increased, when you care very well about your staff, obviously you need to do something. And I know that some people have increased the transportation allowance they give to their people already, even in some private sector, making sure that they are making the condition conducive for their people to work.
All right. Let me read some messages that have come through the WhatsApp line. This is from Abdul Jalil. He says, kindly ask him what percentage are they negotiating for? All right. As I read the message, let's take Richard Kwanzaa, who has joined us here on the phone line. Good evening, Richard.
Yeah, good evening, boss.
Briefly make a submission.
Yes, for me, I don't know, but it looks like Ghana, we've been going around in circles. From our days of independence till now, the question is that, how come that we cannot still change the structure of the economy? All the politicians come, NDC, whatever they come, they keep saying that the problem is the structure of the economy. So the point is that, if we all know what the problem is, how long will it take for us to fix the structure of the economy? We are still important. So how long will it take for us to come up with strategic policies of transforming the economy? We have the professors, we have the doctors. What is happening? Unless maybe the politicians are just there to deceive us. Because if we know what the problem is, why are we not fixing it? Now, we are saying we are spending too much. So why can't we cut it? At this current moment, why are we not having a cut in the governance system of this country? If you see a public servant moving around, you can see 20, 50, 30 V8 moving together. All this waste must be cut. And we go around doing the same thing, expecting to have a different result. And that won't work. And for me, I don't know what our problem is, but we seem to know what is wrong with us, but we are not ready to do it. And we come back all the time complaining. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But I think we need a type of leadership that will come, forget about an 8 years rule, just think about fixing what must be fixed within the 4 years.
Okay.
Whether Ghanaians will retain them or not, it comes to fix the problem and transform the structure of the economy, which
All
can
right.
be done. But I don't know who else is ready to do that.
Thank you for your submission there. That's a very interesting one. You can also call into the show and let us know what you think. Let me read one message before I come back to John Sampa on the issue of labor agitation. This is from Anamsi Dabekinho. He says, can the police and other security agencies in Ghana ever be allowed to go on strike? He's asking a very interesting question. So we are going to work until our needs are met. Dokas Chumwa Chifuhiman. Okay, I'll be reading your messages as they come along. Thank you for staging this topic for discussion. Demand for cost of living allowance is non-negotiable. Government shouldn't have even waited for workers to start agitating on this issue. Mr. John Sampa, you know, this discussion seems to be quite emotionally tensed with regards to the demand. How personal is this demand? How will it affect the life of the ordinary worker? Or will it make any difference in the life of the ordinary worker?
Oh, yeah, it will make a difference.
How?
The struggle is very real, and the challenge or the what the workers are expressing is really very true. If you join Trotro or you take taxi, you know that the prices have almost doubled. And the point is that we have some government workers that take less than 1,000 Ghana cedis. This person is living at, let's say, Ashalibotre and coming to work at the ministry. Realistically, the person's transportation alone has taken like 60% of the person's salary. How would this person actually survive? When the person go to work a day or every day when he go to work, how much food would the person eat? Even if the person is not married, the person doesn't have any dependence. So it's very real and it's very emotional. So when sometimes authorities trivialize it and make it look like we are making unnecessary demand, or maybe our demand is too much, the point is that it's very real. And it is also normal in industrial relations where you are working with your employer and things are very tough. And you are asking that, look at the situation, improve upon it a little bit. It is just an opinion that you are sharing. But the point is that we live in a country with rules and we have protocols and we have how we make our demands. And when we make those demands, the employer is enjoined to actually make himself available for discussion on it. Where the employer fails to do so or is reluctant to do so, there are other avenues, including industrial action. And so that is why you are seeing workers. So
As of yesterday, possibly as of today, we've seen the Ghana Medical Association also demanding for similar CoLA. Already 240,000 teachers are also demanding for CoLA. The registered nurses have also joined the bandwagon. And it's likely that in the coming weeks, we will be seeing more unions joining the bandwagon. This doesn't look good with regards to the way, the pace at which this is happening. And we know basically that Ghana is at the IMF table having negotiations with regards to an economic bailout. Won't you take the president's plea? The president is saying that at least consider the state we are in and go back to work and come back to the table.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, with all due respect, I mean, when we had opportunity to have, when we could have been proactive to even prevent this from happening, and where the people have met with all their structures and have taken a decision, it doesn't take just a plea during an address to a religious body to actually call a strike off. Obviously, I think government knows what to do, and that is why he has invited organized labor for a discussion or negotiation on this. We are hoping that the team that will come will be a very strong team from government. And what I mean is that I don't want to see people with little capacity. We want to see the Minister of Finance. We want to see strong delegation. Like the way we are sending delegation to go and meet IMF, let us get people. When they come, they must come with other alternatives and solutions and what they want to do to mitigate the challenge that we have a little bit. I strongly believe that we should be able to solve this. This is not the first time that labor and government or the employers have been able to surmount such a challenge.
Okay.
I strongly believe we should be able to do that. But they must come with alternative.
Okay.
It should not just be empty-handed and come and plead that, please, we are in hard time, we are in hard time. We are in this country and we don't see the attitude that we are in hard time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We don't see the attitude that we are in hard time. This is the comment being made by John Sampa here, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union here in Ghana. We have the Nuruddin from WA who just joined us on the phone line. Good evening, Nuruddin.
Good evening, my brother.
You're live on Bottomline.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity given.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you see, when you look at the situation in Ghana currently, yes, when you look at the situation in Ghana currently, it's like government is insensitive to the Ghanaian people, or let me say teachers, for instance. This issue of CoLA, teachers has agitated for it before today. For 3 months, it started in February. When you look at Ghana, let me say Africa in general, it's like it's our attitude that the colonial masters or the whites used to describe us. Why am I saying that? They say that Africa is full of human beings that cannot think for themselves, certain portion of it. That Africa is full of people that human beings will chill. So sometimes we do sit down and look at when the situation gets out of hand, then we begin to look for solutions. You see the problem. Now, looking at the leadership that we have, none of the leaders is ready to solve our problems once and for all, but rather we look for an immediate solution. We only look for short-term solution to the problem, but not long-term solution. When you look at the current labor unrest, I think people should not be surprised. People shouldn't be surprised. Why am I saying that?
All right. Thank you, Nuruddin, for that submission there. That's an interesting one. You can also make it here, call into the show. But do want to make it quite brief and straight to the point, and we'll give you the opportunity to make your voice heard. This one I'm going to read from Emilia Mills says, Okay, Emil says, good evening, kudos to DBS. Members are strongly behind you. The burden is just too much. Government should be sensitive to the plight of workers and act accordingly. Long live PSWU. Strongly endorse this strike action. In my opinion, if government doesn't establish the ex gratia, doesn't abolish the ex gratia, the strike action must continue till thy kingdom come. Haruna Muhammad is my name. From my observation, almost 98% of employment is influenced by politicians. Why should staff groups leadership be responsible for inefficiency? The greatest corruption now in Ghana is giving employment to the wrong person and the employee can't complain. I'll start my question with this last submission by Muhammad. You are in the public sector. The case where connections, people are put into the service sector who don't have the competence, who don't have the skills, the qualification academically for certain positions in the service sector. Is that something you've seen in your observation?
Yeah, it's something that we have received a pocket of reports about that, where, in our collective agreement, we have mode of entry into the institution where they will advertise and people will come and then they will be shortlisted, they will go through certain processes. But we have received pocket of reports where the organization sometimes sidestep these processes, lay down processes, and before you realize, interview is not done, no advert is done, but people are being recruited. It doesn't mean that the people are not needed. The spaces are there for the recruitment, but the mode of entry and the competent people to get, sometimes you get politicians influencing, you get chief executive that comes with either pressure from their political parties and sometimes from they themselves.
Okay.
They themselves. That is the irony.
All
sometimes we put everything on the politician. It's not true.
Okay.
You bring one chief executive and all his church people are employed in the organization.
Interesting.
So the point is that these things sometimes happen. And of course, all these things, the government has to check it. It's not really the work of the trade unions to really check this. Where it comes to our attention, sometimes we raise this up. But it is amazing. You raise some of these things and you even petition the board or even government, and the point is that the chief executive is left without any disciplinary action. So it's quite a difficult thing.
Okay.
It's quite a difficult thing.
Indeed, it's quite a difficult thing from John Sampa. But let's take our final caller, who is in the person of Olala, who is calling from Doma. Welcome to Bottomline.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, we as the union leaders, our agitation is stemming from the fact that our leaders are taking, the ex gratia is our problem. So the earlier they cancel the ex gratia, there will be more agitation. If they don't, you continue to agitate because it's very unfair. It's like we are living in an animal farm. You don't like that. So next line of negotiation, when we are going to meet, you tell them that they should cancel the ex gratia before we meet.
Okay.
Other than that, it's too much. We cannot take it again. So that is that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olala, for your time.
Yes, they have to cancel it, yeah.
All right, what point well made there. Good evening, my name is Adams Eliasu from Bole. There's nobody in Ghana who is educated and didn't pass through the hands of teachers. Politicians takes only 4 years to become rich, but a teacher can work for 40 years without any pen. This is from Eliasu, who just sent his message from Bole. I have a long list of messages. I can only take a few because of time. Good evening. Please ask for us, when are they going to pay NAPCO trainees? We are dying of hunger. Michael Amwa from Achim Asene. Why are workers' unions no longer using the living wage model when negotiating, but rather minimum wage? Please, good evening. If government can't afford 20% CoLA, then we should be given tax exemptions. Lawrence Polly from Atebubu. Let me ask my last but not least question before we wrap up. How much are you negotiating for your members? What percentage is there?
20% for the CoLA, 20% on our base pay.
Okay.
20%, that is our demand.
Is it going to be consistently for every month,
Okay,
Or
so
for how long do you want that percentage to be
so
applied?
how it works is that depending on the negotiation, but it will be paid up to the time that the new negotiation will take place. So, for example, we got 7%. The 7% is not able to take us home. It's not able to maintain us. We are asking for CoLA to support it, to cushion it. So it will cushion it until the right time for a new salary negotiation, whereby then the situation has improved.
Indirectly, you are negotiating for a salary increase. Is that not the case?
Well, it's not. It's like that. It's like a salary increase. You are just trying to push the 7%.
So why not go straight to the point than use CoLA as a medium?
Because you negotiate every year, and you have already negotiated for this year, and you took 7%, but things went bad, and therefore you are saying that the 7% that you got, while you are doing your part, the managers of the economy has make sure they have not managed it well, and the inflation has eroded the purchasing power, the real wage, and therefore there is a need to cushion. So the CoLA is actually to cushion. After it has cushioned, by the end of this year, next year, January, a new salary will be announced, or it will be announced even before next year, and then the CoLA will be off.
What should we be expecting this week as you and government are now at the negotiation table from the TUC perspective?
Well, I think that government should be quite sensitive to the demands of the workers. They should come with alternatives and solutions, and also they should avoid intimidatory tactics. And when it comes to this level, because people are not happy, the system is not fair, and there's no equity in the condition of service of public servants in the country. The point is that people are already annoyed, and so your body language and the way you even speak at the meeting can actually annoy people. Also, trying to incite the public against public servants, teachers, public services workers union, or the rest of the public service is something that may not even give us the room even to listen at all. But when they come and negotiating in good faith and also come with alternative, when you see that these people have really reason and they are coming with tangible alternative, it is possible that we could reach a consensus and avoid this unnecessary industrial
What
action.
happens if this negotiation fails? And
If
you happen to strike as well, what will pull you back to work?
What will push us back to work?
Yes.
It is our demands being met. Go to South Africa. They strike for 1 week and then they didn't get. They strike for 2 weeks and then they were given like half of what they want. They strike for 3 weeks and they strike until they got their demand.
Okay.
We are getting to a point where the labor unions, when we are united,
all right,
things will be changed in this country. We cannot go on the way things are going on in this country.
John Nidonu Sampa is the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, who was with me here in the studio. We discussed issues as the worker agitation, the demand for CoLA, and also want to appreciate those who called into the program and sent their messages via the WhatsApp line. Thank you for your time, and this has been Bottomline, where we say business at the speed of thought. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.